Hey guys, back again after a bit of a cold sickness that didn't seem to want to leave me. This is Scott with Blockcast, and of course, the great Alex Cooper from Footprint Analytics. I'll let him introduce himself though as well.
Hey everybody, how's it going? As Scott said, my name is Alex. I'm working with Footprint Analytics. So if you don't know too much about Footprint, like we say every episode, kind of your one-stop shop for everything blockchain analytics. We got zero coding analytics, we got an API, we got full history, and we're also working on a cool CRM tool. I'm working on airdrop analysis called our Footprint Growth Analytics, which is also quite sweet. But anyways, that's enough about Footprint, enough about me. Let's just hop right into it. So, Scott, instead of doing a commodity report today, I think I'm just going to stick with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And according to my Binance app right now, the price of Bitcoin is it's over 30K at
Nice.
$30,100. Is up almost 2% today, and then Ethereum's at 2,076, down a third of a percent. And with that, that is the Bitcoin and Ethereum price of today. So, looking at, I don't have the fear and greed index, but the market was really hot last week. Talking about the Shanghai upgrade, where they upgraded the Chapella and the Beacon network to allow people to unlock staking or their staked ETH as a validator. So that was some pretty big news.
Yeah, and we were talking about that just yesterday. You called the price of Ethereum to the dollar, even you were mentioning.
Yeah, I got well. It's a little bit of maybe a little luck, but when I was doing some research, I had a tour space coming up, and I was doing some research on the upgrade, and it was saying that the average price that validators locked in, according to Glassnode, was $2,136. Was the average ETH price that was locked at. So I said, just check it out. Maybe be a little hesitant of the going higher, riding the wave higher than 2136. I said 2150 is probably as high as I go. And then at 2136, it kind of just dipped, and it's gone been down ever since. Hasn't reached that high point again. So, yeah, I guess a little bit enough to my own horn. Yeah, I do I feel pretty good getting that. I got lucky. I got lucky, but I mean, it just makes sense, right? When the average price is at 2136, because no one's going to unstake when on a driving or an upward swing on an upward trend. No one's gonna liquidate it when they haven't made any money. They're not even broken even yet. So it just makes no sense really to do that. But around that 2136 where people are making money, I mean everything that they earn through staking is now straight up just profit. So I mean it gives a lot more of these validators options, right? Staked ETH isn't liquid ETH. Um, right?
Actually,
So
and it's funny, we got a video pertaining to that today. Mr. Gensler got put in his place a little bit today, and one of the discussions was Ethereum. And I'd like us both to listen to this and then uh, both give our opinions as to what we feel about it. So I'm just going to pull that up. And then I have another video afterward, which is equally as great as far as I'm concerned. But we'll start out with this. Give me 1 second. I'll just load it up here.
okay, no problem. Look, I move my head over a little bit, and then I get Riz Cam. You see
Yeah.
Riz? Yeah, we got Riz Cam. Oh, hey, not when you're doing that. Hey.
Okay, here we go. We're going to hit play here. We'll get this going.
Thank you, Chair Gensler. I'll now recognize myself for 5 minutes. Ether is one of the most popular digital assets that powers the Ethereum blockchain. Back in 2018, then SEC Corporation Finance Director Bill Hinman stated that he believed Ether was not a security. Last month, CFTC Chair Benham expressed his view that Ether is a commodity. The State Attorney General of New York asserted in a court filing last month that Ether is a security. Clearly, an asset cannot be both a commodity and a security. Do you agree?
Actually, all securities are commodity under the Commodity Exchange Act. It's that we are excluded commodities, but I would agree that a security cannot also excluded commodity and included commodity. I'm sorry, Chair, just to talk about the Commodity Exchange Act more precisely.
Okay, so do you recognize, how would you categorize Ether then?
Look, I think that the general sweep of what Congress did, not just in the 30s, but as amended.
I'm asking you, you're sitting in your chair now to make an assessment under the laws as exist. Is Ether a commodity or a security?
Without speaking to anyone,
I know you've repeatedly said you haven't spoken to one, Bitcoin. So I'm asking you to speak to a second one, the second largest market cap here.
in speaking to the tokens, there's 10 to 12,000. If there's a group of entrepreneurs,
I'm asking about one.
The public is anticipating a profit based on the.
I'm asking a specific question, Chair Gensler. I said this in private. This should be no shock to you. I'm asking this question. Is Ether a commodity or a security?
And again, it depends on the facts and the law. And if there's a group of
I'm asking about the facts and the law sitting in your seat and the judgment you are making.
And so, Mr. Chair, I think you would not want me to prejudge because I'm also.
But you have prejudged on this. You've taken 50 enforcement actions. We're finding out as we go, as you file suit, as people get Wells notices on what is a security in your view, in your agency's view. I'm asking you a very simple question about the second largest digital asset. What is your view?
And my view is if there's a group of individuals in the middle that the public is.
All right. So let me just ask a second question. Do you think it serves the market for an object to be viewed by the commodities regulator as a commodity and the securities regulator to be viewed as a security? Do you think that provides safety and soundness for the product? Do you think it provides consumer protection? Do you think it serves the value of innovation? I think no should be a very simple answer for you here. I think that uncertainty is bad, is it not?
And I think that Congress is one agency, the Securities and Exchange Commission, under this committee.
And you won't answer my question, and you're the head of that agency. So give me a break. Come on.
I'm answering it in the generic because you would not want me to speak about any one set of facts and circumstance.
Okay, so
He's shaking. You see him.
about Bitcoin.
My predecessors and the agency itself has spoken.
Okay, so you're not willing to do the same about Ether. Okay, so let me just step back. There's a lack of clarity.
This is my favorite part coming up.
You at least agree to that.
I think that the clarity is there. The law is clear.
Right? So let me be explicit about this. The market doesn't see it. Your regulatory actions and the CFTC's regulatory actions say that there's a great deal of uncertainty here. It is the intention of this committee to fix that uncertainty and actually provide sound legal basis for this.
So you can just see there, actually, like, it's kind of funny. He will not answer the question if Ethereum is a security or not. But he's being caught on the record saying that he feels Ethereum is a security.
Yeah, and isn't this what's kind of getting him in trouble as well, right? Is because, people are thinking that, his word is law right now when it's not law and there's no clarity, right? How how can you say one thing and then just not be able to say it again in front of Congress where it actually matters, right? It's,
Well, and he even was caught saying today that the cause of the Silicon Valley Bank collapse was because of cryptocurrency. He said that was the reason why the bank collapsed. But in the end, me and you have been discussing this exact same thing. And we realized like the treasury and the interest rates had a huge impact on the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. It wasn't so much crypto that caused that collapse. So I'm surprised that he would come out and say stuff like that. But I always say it's easy to fill someone's mouth. And I think somebody is filling Gensler's mouth in some ways. I just have that.
I mean, it's an easy scapegoat too, right? It's, I mean, it's the big bad guy right now. In the news too. Even though Bitcoin like today is over $30,000. What was it 4 months ago? It was like $13,000, $12,000.
Yeah.
Right. And crypto's still just the big bad guy, right? Even when things are going good, for a lot of people. So it's an easy out. It's an easy out. Let's blame crypto, right? People are taking their money out of banks and they're putting it into crypto. That means there's no money for banks.
Yeah. Well, and here's the funny thing. Let's see who they feel is the problem, this board, which I find even more interesting when I seen this today. And I'll pull that up right now. There we go. Here, and we'll play this. This one's just short, 1:29.
Protect investors and abuses of power. Make it clear that we need to restructure the Securities and Exchange Commission. Failures are many, but let me cite some of the abuses. You average more than 2 rules proposals a month. You provide inappropriately short comment periods. You have unworkable and unlawful ESG disclosure mandates on the market. You have essentially a Hotel California rule for crypto where you can check in. You have endless discovery with no resolution and no clarity for the captives in the market. You have unworkable proposals for overhauling equity market structure, a de facto ban on crypto through the proposed custody rule. You have high staff turnover, unhappy people leaving your office, and unhappy companies and capital leaving our country. To correct a long series of abuses, I'm introducing legislation that removes the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission and replaces the role with an executive director that reports to the board where all authority would reside. Former chairs of the SEC will be ineligible under my proposed bill. And this isn't just my take. It resonates across the political spectrum. The American people want democratic access to capital, retail investor participation. You can't just exclude retail investors from markets and claim it's for their own good. Our markets need to function and flourish, and I yield back.
But that really speaks volumes to me as to like where they're coming at with this is this whole cryptocurrency regulation stuff that Gensler's been pushing the last little while. I mean, with his committee or whatever, has impacted the U.S. in the most negative way possible. I think at the wrong time, even with the war that's happening in the Ukraine, with Russia, with everything going on, and then banning cryptocurrency, we're seeing large volumes of money leave the US and go to other countries like Dubai, for instance, which we'll see in another article soon here in the next little while. But I wanted to kind of discuss this first.
I mean, too, it's like, if you really think about corps that want to get into crypto, right? They're going to get into crypto in places where legally they can with the least legal repercussions possible, while still getting the most adoption, right?
Yeah.
And in the States there is no clarity on where these firms stand regulation wise, right? It's right now it just seems like it's a toss up. If you release a token, you have so Gary Gensler's got a dart that he's tossing in the dark, and if it hits you, you're screwed. If it doesn't, you're fine. And no one wants to be caught in this random dart act, right? Or this dart roulette with Gary Gensler with a blindfold, just tossing things and making examples out of people, right? One of the big reasons Kraken is planning on selling all of their Ethereum is due to the lack of regulations and being sued by the SEC for staking their Ethereum. It's a huge dump on the market, right? And if you don't think if they have to be forced, strong armed into this decision that maybe Kraken doesn't want to be operating in the States anymore either. Where's the worth here when they're getting fined just consistently here, but still having no guidelines of what's right and what's wrong, right? How can you go register your token as a security and do all the registering process, but then wait a year and a half to launch and get everything going, right? It's in this sort of industry, in this sort of time right now, that's almost too long, right? We got to get, especially if we're following, let's say you're just any kind of token, staking, especially any kind of DeFi token where you want to get in when it's hot, but you're kind of scared because you guys know what I'm saying here. I just think, until there's this basic framework of regulations clearly defined what's right or what's wrong, institutions will be continuing to put their money that they want to put into crypto. They're just not going to do it in the States. They're going to, like you said, other big places like Dubai, right? Hong Kong now is starting to become a big crypto hub. We'll see next month what their kind of regulations that they propose going forward. This could be a big move for China as a whole, right? With Hong Kong becoming, because what Hong Kong was already a financial hub. All right, it's very, very similar to Singapore in a way that Hong Kong had the first was stock exchange too. Like it's a financial hub, right? And now they're evolving into crypto. That's huge, man. And a lot of people are into that, right? And it also kind of shows where the cracks are falling in the state's regulatory stances, or the cracks are showing, right? It's like they're dragging their feet, right? Why, in my opinion, why don't they make, San Francisco, for example, a huge crypto hub, right? Make this someplace that, you can come in. It's easy to come in to get into crypto. We have well-defined laws, right? It's already said the Bay is already such a big hub. Let's kind of expand on that and make some more regulations going forward. We'll see a lot more growth, I think, personally. But, this is just my tangent.
And you got to see this, and this is the way I see it right now. They're fighting to keep the dollar as the dominant form of currency right now, with all these BRIC countries fighting against the US dollar being the main currency. I think the only way that the US is going to be able to stop this is opening their door to cryptocurrency as hard as it is. I think that's the only way that you're going to be able to stabilize that market and bring in new money into the US versus losing money every day. And here's another big article here that we can
always got the other option, Scott. They always should start another war.
Yeah, but see how well that's working right now, even for them now. So here you go. So Coinbase could relocate from the US if no regulatory clarity, says CEO. Coinbase COO has revealed the crypto exchange would relocate if there's no regulatory clarity in the United States. Brian Armstrong said the US has a potential to be an important market for crypto. And then he mentioned that while speaking at FinTech Week in London, according to Armstrong, the regulatory environment in the US remains unclear at the moment, and this is affecting the crypto ecosystem there. And then what else does it say here? Armstrong praised the regulatory efforts in the United Kingdom, highlighting the fact that the Financial Conduct Authority is the only regulatory agency tasked with handling securities and commodities. However, in the United States, the Commodity Future Trading Commission, CFT, handles commodities, while the Securities and Exchange Commission regulates securities. You don't have this unfortunate thing happening where the CFTC and the SEC are having a turf battle. We actually have contradictory statements from the head of the CFTC and the SEC coming out almost every few weeks. How is a business going to operate in that environment? We just want a clear rule book, which is true. And I wouldn't be surprised if Coinbase moves to Dubai. I just seen Bybit actually move their head office to Dubai. So I mean,
really?
Yeah, there's some big moves of big players moving to Dubai, and I can see why they're very much an open book when it comes to their feelings on cryptocurrency. And you need to see this as one of the largest countries with the most money, smallest country, with the most money, but the most influence. So if the States doesn't follow suit, I think this will negatively impact the market. And if the States does decide to finally open their doors to it, and I understand there's fraudsters and stuff, and we need to go after the bad players. That's never been a thing that it shouldn't happen. Everyone should be going after those people. But in the same sense, we have to open the doors to innovation and technology, and the US dollar is not that technology we need right now. With the amount of money they can print and the stuff they can do, they're scared of what cryptocurrency will bring to the market. And I think that's why we're seeing this blockage of cryptocurrency right now, because it's impacting the even the peg of the US dollar right now. But I mean, in the end, it isn't because of what cryptocurrency is doing. It's because the way the government is using it and what they're doing is wrong. So if we're going to change the way the US is performing right now, I think the only answer is to open the borders to cryptocurrency. But
Yeah, I mean, I think too, the East has been obviously trying to undermine the buying power of the U.S. dollar for years, right? Years and
Mhm.
years and years and years, ever since, or probably ever since the Cold War, man. Maybe even longer than that. They've been trying to undermine the buying power of the dollar, the oil dollar. And I still think, even with all this news, I still think it's going to take a lot of time. I think it's going to be still years and years until we actually see this starting to happen and maybe starting to affect the U.S. in any way. Now, you're right, right? The last thing the U.S. wants is capital and businesses escaping and leaving or not escaping, but migrating from one country to the other, from the U.S. to other countries. When you're hearing all this kind of news about dollar uncertainty and people wanting to move away from the U.S. dollar, obviously that's the last thing that they want. But I honestly, I think a lot of it is FUD. Truthfully, I think it's still going to be a lot of years before we're going to see any significant change. And you know what? This is also just going to push higher demand for production within the states, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna see, so you're gonna start trying to take away our dollar buying power. Well, we're gonna start up in production, and right, when you start up in production, it gives more value. So we'll see. But there's already talks, about these two new big chip plants being manufactured in the states. That's big news, right? That's really big. That can also help us um, get loosen our need again on Taiwan for those, right? Which is with tensions and stuff going on over there, that's always a great move. Gives us more power. So whatever. I don't want to get too political onto it, but I mean, I think you're right. Any way to stop the bleeding of capital in a time of FUD is important. But I think it still will be a couple of years, or at least more than a couple of years, before we start seeing the U.S. dollar's buying power start being affected.
I don't know, like the amount of countries that are signing up onto the BRIC. I know they're small companies, but I mean, India, Russia, China are some of the biggest economic powers out there. So in the end, and then you have some of these other countries that have been in relationships with the states for so long, coming out and stating that they don't want to be under the US dollar anymore. They're not saying that they're denouncing it or not sticking with it, but in the same sense, they're saying, we can't rely on the US dollar anymore. When countries are starting to say that, I'm fearful that it's going to be a lot quicker than we're anticipating. But in the same sense, if the states does make the proper moves, and I know it takes a couple years, like you're mentioning, to make the proper changes, but they need to be outright honest with what they're going to do with cryptocurrency, with what they're going to do with opening things. If they're not, I could see this impacting them worse than they want it to impact, and they need to stem the bleeding right now. And I think the only way that they're going to be able to stem that bleeding is to stop Gensler doing what he's doing and really opening up everything to what's going on. But that's just we're both thinking the same thing. I just think I'm worried to how fast it could happen, I guess, in the end, but we'll have to let this play out.
I'm just doing a little bit of looking here, right? So I'm right now I'm comparing the GDP of California, just California, to the GDP in BRICS, to the countries making up BRICS. And just to let you know, the GDP of California is $2.8 trillion, just in that one state, which is insane, absolutely insane. And to look here for the GDP of Russia in 2022 was 1.7 trillion dollars. So California already has Russia beat on GDP, just California. So I mean, when we're looking at these countries making up BRICS, I mean, China obviously probably has as California beat, but what's the GDP of Brazil?
Well, even what's the GDP of India or China? Both of those ones right now.
Yeah, let's take a look real quick. GDP of Brazil is 1.4 trillion. So on that, California has double the GDP of Brazil. God, that's crazy. Let's go look at the GDP of China now. Now this is where it's a little different, but and I guess we also have to look at, we got a series of countries competing. So the GDP of China was 2.2, or nope, sorry, $17 trillion in 2021.
Yeah.
Which is makes sense, right? Makes sense.
And how about India? Where are they at for GDP? I don't think they're going to be as high as China, but I think they're becoming a little bit of a bigger.
According to the World Bank, GDP in US dollars is in 2021 it was 3.18 trillion.
So not as big as China for sure, but they're still. These are emerging markets. Like as time goes on, I think they'll definitely have more swing. And when they group together, the way that they're grouping together, I think they're adding on to that power substantially, especially when you think some of that money that's being spent in the States and stuff like that is getting sent to China as a whole, right? Like what, I'm just curious what the impact, I'd like to hear what our viewers think of all this too. I guess this will be interesting to watch it play out in the next, I think in the next couple weeks as we continue to have these conversations. Alex, I think we're going to find some interesting topics coming up in the next little while that will play out very much. I'm just curious how it's going to play out. That's all.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how it goes out. I'm really curious on how the data plays and what kind of significant metrics are going to be important for this swing of things.
Yeah.
And now, with that being said, like Scott was saying, you guys, I'm really curious to get what you guys think about what we've talked about so far in the video, whether it be Gary Gensler, how you guys feeling about the U.S. dollar depegging? Is it going to happen? The buying power, and I want to say as well, if you guys are liking what we're talking about, if you like the videos, toss us a like, subscribe, because it really helps us out. Really helps us out on the algorithm. It lets us know that you're liking what we're talking about. And just leave a comment. Let me know what you think. It's just we do this so to get the news out to you, and not only that, but we want to do better. So anytime you guys have some feedback, please hit us up. And with that being said, that's my little subscriber shill. Thank you guys again for listening so far. And Scott, is there anything else we should talk about before we wrap it up today?
Well, do you have any upcoming spaces in the next little while on Footprint that you think people might want to tune into?
Well, actually, now that you mention it, I do have a really cool video that I did with the Game 7 community. If you can see, I'm wearing their shirt right now. I picked this thing up back in Berkeley, but I did a Web3 gaming analytics workshop with Game 7 in their Discord, and I recorded it and put it on their YouTube. And it's really in depth. I did even a deep dive into DFK, DeFi Kingdoms, and it was really surprising some of the data that we found. So I really hope if you guys liking what we're talking about in this video, you're really gonna like that workshop. And if you like gaming as well, right? If you like Web3 gaming, you're kind of curious about what kind of metrics to check out so that you can keep your investment a little bit more secure, right? You have a better, just more knowledge to drop it in. I mean, that's a great way to learn. I talk about some of the 3 best kind of metrics for gaming and on chain, what to look for, how to make sure it's sustainable, and so forth and so forth. Again, Scott, you give me another opportunity to chill. I'm done now.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the one thing I want to mention as well, if you're a cryptocurrency project and you're looking for a place to allow people to see what your project is about, we fully check over the project as well and make sure to ask the questions that I feel are very valid to allow people to know about your project. Definitely check out Blockcast on Twitter, shoot us a message, and we'd be happy to have you on for an AMA. But again, we'll be back next week now that I'm feeling better and almost back to like, I'd say 70-80% right now. So by next week, I should be at 100 and we'll definitely be going hard again. So, yeah.
Well, that's what I love to hear. I'm happy you're feeling better, Scotty. It always sucks being sick. So,
Yeah.
I'm trying to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have a wonderful day, you guys. Thank you, Alex, for coming in as always. And we'll be talking soon enough.
All right. See you guys later. Talk soon now.
Yep.
Bye.